On the telephone line, calling us from the West Coast, Garnet Schulhauser. Garnet, how you doing?
Pretty good, Ray. How are you?
I am fantastic. Tell me about your new book. It looks very, very interesting to me.
Well, my new book, which is Dancing Forever with Spirit, is about my astral adventures with my spirit guide, Albert. And how that arose was that I first met Albert, just to back up a bit, which is described in my first book, Dancing on a Stamp. I first met him when I was walking down the street one day, and he jumped out of nowhere, disguised. He looked like a homeless man, stopped me in my tracks, and that led to a series of conversations I had with him. He told me he was one of my spirit guides in disguise, and we had a dialogue over a period of a couple of months, which resulted in my first book, Dancing on a Stamp.
Right.
So the second set of encounters, which is in my second book, it was quite different because I sort of awoke one night in my bed, heard a noise. I saw this ghost-like ethereal figure standing in the doorway of my bedroom, and as it moved closer to the foot of my bed, I recognized it then as my spirit guide, Albert, in his homeless man attire, but in astral form. And he said to me, okay, I've come here to take you on a series of out-of-body adventures because I want to show you some things and have you meet some people so that you can write about them for your second book. And so he just reached out and grabbed my hand, and he basically pulled my astral body out of my physical body. I turned around and looked back, and in the bed, my physical body was still sound asleep. So he led me by the hand. We rose up through the ceiling, up through the clouds, and hovered in a space above our beautiful planet. And he said, first stop, I'm taking you to the spirit side. So we went through this shimmering doorway, and as we went through the door, all of a sudden there I was standing in this beautiful, lush meadow, which was really quite spectacular, lush green grass and beautiful trees and a whole array of wildflowers in like 1,000 different colors, and with amazing perfume wafting up. So it was really quite an amazing scene, the most beautiful meadow you could ever imagine. And that was the start of my trip on the spirit side with Albert.
How did you know Albert was real and not just some fantasy and dream that you were coming up with?
Well, because I knew him from the first encounters where he appeared to me in physical form. Like he was there, I could touch him, even though he said I was the only one who could touch him, or see him. But he was there in physical form initially. After the first couple of encounters, he was just a voice in my head, Ray, and we communicated by telepathy. So that when he came back for the second set of encounters, I recognized him, recognized his voice, so I knew that it was the same guy, and he had told me he was a spirit. So I just assumed that was his natural state, being in astral form, and so he was very real to me. And when I woke up the next day after my trips, the memories of my adventures with him were incredibly real and lucid and clear, much more so than any dream I've ever had or any memory of my waking life I've ever had. So it was just very, very clear to me, very, very, very real. What have you learned the most from this encounter? Well, in the first set, he said there was a number of sort of startling revelations, startling to someone who was raised as a Christian like I was. I was raised as Roman Catholic. Mm-hmm. And I'd always been asking myself all the eternal questions in life, like who am I, why am I here, and so on. What he said was, look, you're a soul, an eternal soul. You came to this planet incarnated in a human body so that you could learn and experience things that you wanted for your evolution. And so you chose to come here, and you chose your life. You with pre-birth planning, you chose your parents, the place you were born, your siblings, and so on. And you did that for a very specific reason, to learn some things that you wanted to learn. And so nobody made you come here, your choice. And the other startling thing about it is that he said that God, or the source, does not control or manipulate things in our lives. In other words, if something good happens to you, it's not because God decided to be nice to you. Or if you're visited with a tragedy, it's not because God wanted to send you, some harm, some awful things to happen to you. God isn't doing anything; He's not pulling strings. What happens on Earth is a result of your pre-birth planning and your free will actions, because we all have free will. So basically, we create our own, demise or positive energy, right? Absolutely. So whatever happens to you is a result of your free will actions and those of other people around you. And the challenging aspect is that you don't remember what you had planned beforehand. So you're kind of floundering around a bit blindly, and because of that, you often stray way off course. And so whatever your reality is here, you basically create it yourself through your decisions and through your reaction to the things that happen to you. So you can look at things in a positive fashion or in a negative fashion. It's up to you.
Our special guest is Garnet Schulhauser. Garnet, how long ago did you first meet Albert?
I first met him in 2007. That was back when I was practicing law, Ray, and I met him as I was strolling down the street, and he just sort of jumped out in front of me, and that began our first, series of conversations. So he's been around for a little while, and we've had another set of out-of-body adventures, which is in my third book, which will be released later this year or early in 2016. So he's still around, still showing me things that I can write about. He asked me to write the books because he wanted everyone to have access to what he was telling me, his messages. And so that's my job right now, is I'm doing his bidding, and I'm writing his books for him.
Well, does Albert think that the world is in chaos? I mean, or does he have a more positive outlook on things?
Well, he says that we're at a very crucial stage. Our civilization, we have advanced technology. We have the capability of destroying all life on our planet if our weapons are unleashed. And so he says we really have to sort of bear down and try to get over this hump, because many other civilizations in Earth's past, like Atlantis and Lemuria, rose up to a very high stage, and then they crashed and burned. And he's concerned that we may do the same. But he's very positive. He's saying that the spirits are sending messages channeling messages through many messengers on Earth. Like, I'm one, you're one, whether you know it or not, Ray. Lots of people, radio hosts and people who write books and blogs, and they're really sending a message, trying to get people on our planet to be aware of the fact that they have to discard their negative emotions and embrace love and compassion. And if we can do that, we can get over this hump and move on to the next stage. And if we don't, it could be very bad news for us. But he was very optimistic, and he said that he has a lot of faith that we can pull this one through. So, and part of my role here is to try to get his message out to people.
What was the most surprising thing about Albert that you realized?
The most surprising thing was that he, I guess for me, is that he and I had many previous lives together. So he said we've known each other for a long time, except I don't remember any of that. And that and before I was born, I planned to have him as one of my spirit guides, and we actually planned this encounter, which I thought was totally a surprise. But we had planned it so that I could send his message to everyone. But the most surprising thing about his revelations, Ray, was that he said that no one on earth dies by accident, that we die when our souls are ready to leave our physical bodies.
Yeah.
And so even if a plane crashes and 300 people all perish, that was no accident. Every one of those souls decided that was the time to leave. So that's a bit of a surprise, but the more I think of it, about it, the more it makes sense to me, really.
Garnet, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back in about 2 minutes, so hang on with us, okay?
Okay.
We'll be right back. All right, we're back with Garnet Schulhauser. Garnet, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Ray.
Great speaking with you this morning. A very interesting topic, and it's very involved. It takes it's more than just one of these surface interviews that we've done in the past. This is a very integral, important interview in a sense that we need to find out the bigger picture, and you're giving us more of an insight of what that's all about. What are you doing right now to kind of stay on the line that Albert wants you to stay on?
Well, I'm always there for Albert. He comes and goes. Sometimes he disappears for a couple of months, but he comes back. He's got an agenda. He doesn't always tell me exactly what's on his mind, but he did after my book, Dancing Forever Spirit. He did come back again. I had a third set of encounters with him. That's good. That's detailed in my third book, which I said will be published later on this year.
What's that going to be called?
It's going to be called Dance of Heavenly Bliss. And then he tells me that I'm going to be writing a fourth book and a fifth book probably, and who knows when he's going to let me off the hook. But I'm sort of at his beck and call, and I'm quite happy to do that. But he's very inscrutable at times. He doesn't always tell me what's on his mind or what his agenda is, and I just have to go along and go with the flow.
Garnet, does this overwhelm you at times?
Yeah, it does, but I'm sort of getting used to it. The more I see, the more I'm sort of used to seeing all these amazing sights and meeting all these amazing spirits. So I am getting used to it. I was overwhelmed initially a bit, but he's a very calming soul, very wise and compassionate, and it's just easy to talk to him, to deal with him. So that allays a lot of my concerns, and I feel very comfortable with him now.
You're not afraid or anything like that, right?
I'm sorry, I'm not a witch?
You're not afraid of him in any way, are you?
Oh, no. He's very comforting. He makes me feel very peaceful and very secure. And so I'm incredibly comfortable. I wish I could just travel with him, forever. But he tells me I still have a mission to finish here on this planet, and I can hook up with him later after I cross over.
What about his vision of heaven and hell? I mean, we always, you grew up Roman Catholic, so did I, and we have a vision of what heaven and hell look like. How would you describe that in Albert's view?
Well, first of all, there is no hell.
Okay.
That's just an invention of the religious holy man in the Christian church and other religions. There is no hell. So when everyone passes, they all go back to the same place. He calls it the spirit side. Catholics call it heaven. It's a very wonderful place where there's no negative emotions, there's no pain, there's no suffering. Everyone just showers unconditional love in one another. Very beautiful place, and everyone goes there. So the funny thing about that is even the bad guys, even the murderers and the terrorists, go there after they cross over, because there is no judgment by God. There is no punishment. There is no hell. Everyone goes back to the same place. And if you've had a terrible life here, you have a life review when you cross over. You look back on your life to see where you've made mistakes, where you've screwed up, and then you try to say, okay, in my next incarnation, I'm going to try to make amends and do things better. So you're the only one who judges what you do. God or the source does not. And if you decide that you don't want to come back to this planet anymore, you can just stay there, forever. You're an eternal soul. So it's entirely up to you.
How about animals? Do they have any control in this?
Animals have souls, yeah. It may surprise some people, but anyone who has like a pet dog or a cat, they probably would agree with me. Albert said, yeah, of course they have souls. And some of us have started our lives on Earth by incarnating into an animal, and then we move up and graduate into a more complex life like a human. So yeah, and animals, their souls cross over when they die. And for a lot of people, if they have a really beloved pet, when they cross over, that pet will be waiting for them in their greeting party on the spirit side, and so we'll all be reunited again. So animals definitely go to the same place.
Garnet, what do you say to people that when you tell them this stuff, they think that you're too out there? They just can't wrap their arms around it.
Well, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and I don't try to preach or lecture to people. I just sort of spread Albert's message, and it's up to them to accept it or not.
Okay.
But what I do say to people is, you know what? If you don't accept it now, when you die, you will find out for yourself, and so you can either believe it now, or you will believe it when your body perishes from this planet.
Which one of your books do you think is the most important for people to read?
Well, I think they both are. They both have different messages, but I suggest that people should start with Dancing on a Stamp, which is sort of the first encounter with Albert, and then move on to the second one because it sort of flows naturally. The first one has the more basic sort of answers to the eternal questions of life, like who am I, why am I here, where do I go when I die? And then the second one has the set of astral adventures where he shows me things in the universe, other planets, Earth in a higher dimension, things on the spirit side that sort of build on what he told me in the first book. So it gets a little more complicated, but it's sort of a natural progression. So I suggest start with book one and then move into book two. Has
there ever been a situation where he was unable to answer a question that you had for him?
Well, it's not that he was unable to. Sometimes he refused because he said, you don't need to know that right now. It's, you'll find out later. So he deliberately declined to answer some of my questions because he didn't think I was ready for them or that I needed to put them in my book. But he'd always say, at some point I'll answer your question. But I never felt that he was unable to. He just refused for his own reasons.
How many other people do you know that Albert's talked to?
I don't know. He says that he's got other channels, other people that he sends messages through. He would not tell me how many or who they were or where they were. He said it wasn't important for me, but I know that he is channeling through a number of other people, and he's really a determined guy to try to get his message out, spread out as widely as possible. So, but he refused to tell me who or how many there were.
Is there any other things about Albert that you'd like to broadcast that we should know about him?
Well, he's a very, very wise and advanced soul, and he's very down to earth is kind of a misnomer, but he's a very basic sort of person, easy to talk to. He didn't lecture or preach or anything, but he's very, very loving and compassionate, and he has a real mission, which is to try to help humanity get over this crucial crossroads that we're at. He doesn't want us to crash and burn like the previous civilizations, and so he's really trying hard. And he's really dedicated to his mission, and so I really admire him for that. I mean, he could just go off and do other things on the spirit side. He doesn't have to do this, but he really wants to help humanity, and in as many ways as possible. So he's just an amazing guy. I mean, I think he's a master soul. He would not tell me that for sure, but I think that he is. He's had many of his own incarnations on Earth. He knows what it's like to live here. He knows how tough it is. And he's really trying to help us.
What does a master soul actually mean?
Well, master is a very advanced soul that has a highly evolved soul. There's been a lot of masters in our Earth's history, like Jesus Christ, Muhammad, Moses. They were all master souls, and mainly when they incarnate on Earth, it's not because they need to learn or experience anything. It's to come and help other humans because they're already highly evolved. So history is full of them. We don't recognize them as such for the most part. And there's a lot of masters who are very unnoticed. They go about their business quietly, helping other people on Earth, and that's really their mission. But they're just very, very advanced. They've been through many incarnations, and they don't need to learn or evolve anymore.
Garnet, how can people get a hold of you?
My website is garnetschulhauser.com, or you can do dancingonastamp.com. My email address is there. I'd be happy to hear from your listeners, with any comments or questions. And there's buy links for my books on my website with all the popular online stores, so you can buy the books there. There's also a synopsis and a book video for each of my books, so all the information that you might want to have before you make a decision to buy is there, and then the buy links are there if you choose to buy one or both of the books.
Garnet, when you write your next book, I want you to come back on. I want to talk more about Albert.
I'd love to, Ray.
And I wish you the best, and just keep us updated on what's going on.
I will, and I'll let you know when the third book is out, and I'd love to be on your show again, Ray.
All right, well, thank you, and good luck, and thank you very much for your time.
It's my pleasure, and thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Garnet Schulhauser, very interesting.